We planted this cauliflower in this little pot a few weeks ago and it's come on really well, but obviously this pot's not going to be big enough for its root system, so we better get it moved on into something bigger and at least give it a fighting chance to grow in a container. So I'll just pop it into one of these. Plenty of drain holes in it. And as always, we've added a bit of rough compost to the bottom to save on us better quality stuff. Get it out of this pot first. We'll have a look, see what the root system's like on it. So, not crazy, but it has still got quite a few roots. And we do need to move it on to somewhere bigger. So we'll add a bit of compost until we get it to the right height. And I think there will be just fine. So now we just need to infill around it. But first we'll add a little bit of grow more, just to make sure there's plenty of nutrients in this compost. And keeping it straight as we can now infill. And we'll keep firming it down as we're filling, because brassicas like a stable soil to grow in. So we've moved that on now. It's looking nice and healthy, but now it's in a decent sized pot and we're going to try and grow it onto a smaller cauliflower in this pot. But it's had refreshed compost and it's also had some fertiliser. So now we'll just give it a quick watering. And that can now go back out in container garden. I've also got a couple of these. These are outdoor tomato plants and it's in this little pot and we haven't moved it on yet, but it's trying to flower already. So we best get this out of pot as well and move it on just to give it a chance. So same thing as before, bit of rough compost in bottom and then we'll top it up with some good stuff. But we'll also give this one some fertiliser as well, because I doubt that there's any nutrition left in this little pot now. And then we'll top it up again with some decent stuff. And then we'll take this out and have a look. And you can see, although there's not tons of roots on this little plant, they are starting to widen around bottom, and that's always something you want to avoid. So if we sit it nice and central, same as before, infill around edge. This is only a 10 litre pot, but we're going to try it anyway. The fact that it's actually got flowers on it in that little tiny pot is a good sign. And we'll just take off those little bottom leaves, the original leaves. And then we'll firm it in nicely. And you can bury these tomato plants a little bit deeper to bring on more root growth from the stem. But for now we're going to leave it. And then as it grows up, we'll add a little bit more to the bottom. But you also need to provide this plant with some support. So as it grows up, it's got something to be tied to, otherwise the wind will knock it over and break that stem. So we'll just go in with a cane and we'll push it right down like that. Again, trying to keep it as straight as we can. And then when it gets a bit taller, it's got a little bit of something for us to tie it to. I can also stabilise this cane a little bit better by drilling a couple of holes in this bucket and threading string through each side to pull it tight so it can't move. But we'll see if we need to do that as this plant grows. And then we'll water this one in because it was very dry in that pot. So just until it's got a bit more established in this pot, I'm going to leave it in the greenhouse before we move it outside to container garden. One other thing that's worth noting, while your tomato plant is so young, take off any flowers that start to form, because if you don't, it's going to put all its energy into trying to make fruit, which is its mission ultimately. But it's not a very tall plant, so all the energy will go into making your tomatoes, which will end up being smaller tomatoes anyway, and it won't continue to grow as quick and get a thicker stem on it, which is what you want, because then it will put out more branches, more flowers, and later on in the season you'll be getting a much higher yield. So if you see your little plants like this, take off the flowers if they're still very small plants. And what you need to do is just pinch them off. Like that. Any that you see, get rid of them. It's far too early for these plants to start wanting to produce tomatoes. We want to get a bigger, stronger and better rooted plant before it even attempts to do anything like that. And by removing these flowers, it will now trigger this plant into putting its energy back into growing a thicker, longer stem and more branches. And this one in the other greenhouse is a much bigger plant, but it's not very tall. So again, find the little flower buds like there and just pinch them off. See, there's quite a lot growing just there, so take them all away. While we're looking at this plant, it's also good to note that as they grow, they put out suckers, which is another branch coming out from in between two main ones. You don't want those, so just break them off like that, because you're going to end up with branches everywhere and it's going to take up a lot of energy from your plant. And if you look right down inside, you'll see that there's lots of little tiny ones there. You'll see there's little tiny ones starting to grow just there in between. So again, just pinch those off. And you'll have to keep doing this all the way through growing season to prevent this plant from growing too many branches. So there's one there as well. Take that away. And as this plant's growing, you need to put a cane in to hold it stable or it will fall over. Also, keep your eye on the bottom. These little leaves down here have done their job. They're no good anymore. Take them off and you'll see right at the bottom another side shoot. So take that away as well. And pinch them, don't tear them. The whole point of doing this is, as this plant grows up, these branches won't be producing any flowers, so you won't get any fruit. That's all going to be further up the plant. So there's no point in having things growing right down here, because these will end up going yellow and they'll start spreading disease amongst the rest of the foliage because they're going to be getting wet all the time. So what you want to do is break your branches off as this plant grows. And what we'll do with this one is we'll take this big one away at the bottom here and we'll just pinch that off like that. Now that's left all this clear underneath. So you've got better airflow under your plant, because you don't want to set off at blight or anything like that, or fungal diseases on your leaves as well. And then we'll take a cane, putting it quite close to the stem, and then just push it into the ground as straight as you can. And you've then got something to tie your plant to as it's growing, but tie it very loosely, because you don't want to be pinching into the stem with any string or ties. It's just to stop it from falling over, and that will do the job for the rest of the season. And if you want to see how these two little plants get on in these containers, then just hit that subscribe button and press the notifications bell, and you'll get updates every time I upload a new video. Thank you very much for watching.